Welcome back to the Everything Property Podcast. Now, one thing that's always fascinated me over the years is if Airbnbs are as profitable as everyone that owns them makes out to be. You've got vacancies, day rates, minimum night stays, management, cleaning, damage, party, surveillance, legislation, the works, you name it. It's a niche investing strategy, but something I'm really interested to dig a little deeper into. So for today's episode, we welcome Airbnb co-host, coach, and owner Sophie Turner onto the Everything Property Podcast to see how we can make $5,000 a month on Airbnbs and whether or not it's a profitable investing strategy for our audience and to suit your needs. Sophie Turner, welcome to the Everything Property Podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
That's all right. Look, first time on a podcast, guys, so go easy on her. But thanks for joining me and thanks for wanting to talk about Airbnb. There's not too much info out there. We're talking investment strategies for Airbnbs for our audience, just something for people to consider. But tell me a little bit about your story and how you got started in Airbnbs.
Yeah, so we got started on Airbnb. My partner and I, we actually had a property that we bought in Wombara. It's a coastal town just an hour south of Sydney. Mm-hmm. So we just decided it was a beautiful little beach cottage and we thought, how can we make some money off this property? So what we did was I looked into Airbnb. I had a look at, what other properties in the area were on Airbnb and how much they were making. And I was like, oh, wow, $500 to $1,000 a night, depending on the season. Yeah. And so we just thought, why not? Let's do it. But in saying that, we did do a bit of a cosmetic renovation first. So we painted the house white. We did a fire pit area. We made a really, cute barbecue area. We had, a pink and white umbrella. Mm-hmm. And then we invested in, really nice furniture as well as, all the amenities that you need. So high quality linens and towels and we invested in professional photography. Mm-hmm. And then it just absolutely went off and we were just getting so many bookings coming through. It was a lot bigger than what we expected.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How good's that? Okay.
Yeah. We were just constantly booked out, especially like weekends, holidays and peak seasons. And then, from there we were like, wow, this has just been great. And that's when I was like, I can help other people do this because heaps of people were asking me for free advice and I thought, I should get paid for giving advice on this. So, that's how Hosting with Sophie was born, and now I've been doing that for nearly 3 years and just supporting people start their Airbnb and also co-hosting properties as well, so managing properties for people as well.
Interesting. So, how did you guys go about when you got bookings? Like, where did you stay? Did you parents or what happens there?
Yeah. So we
climbing to the attic, what do you?
Yeah, no. So we were staying with our parents, luckily, that just lived around the corner, and we have a studio sort of apartment there. So obviously not everyone has that luxury, but if you do have that option, or if you're going on holidays or whatever it may be, or maybe you've got a couple of properties and you want to Airbnb one out and then live in the other one, or there's so many different options. You can even rent out a room on Airbnb, or if you've got a granny flat or a tiny home in your backyard, you can even look into doing that as well.
Interesting. So talk to me a little bit about, so the audience listening to this are thinking, okay, well, what's it about? What do I need to look for? I guess to start off is determining, and it's going to be different to realestate.com, but it's going to be determining how do I know, I'm coming into this, I'm like, all right, so if I want to buy an Airbnb, how do I find out where to locate an Airbnb? Where's the demand? Where's the supply? How would someone, a Joe Blow off the street, figure that out?
Yeah, so I feel like there's a few steps you can take. Is I find that, anywhere near a big city definitely does well. So, for example, Wombara, an hour south of Sydney, it's close to Sydney siders wanting that escape, a weekend escape. Same with down the coast. Obviously, I'm from New South Wales, so depending on where you are, you'll know what those hot spots are where people like to holiday. So those do really well. But what you can do is you can go on AirDNA, and that's a website that you can just punch in which suburb you're looking at, buying a property in, if it is, Airbnb that you're looking to do.
Yep.
And AirDNA will come up with the suburb. It will tell you the occupancy percentages. It will tell you, average nightly rate that you might get. It will also tell you how many other Airbnb or short-term rentals are in that area, so you can see if it's really saturated or not. It has all of the statistics in there to know whether or not it would be worth it. In saying that, though, I'm a big believer, and there is a really good example of a property, an Airbnb in Tasmania. It's literally in the absolute middle of nowhere. I think it takes like 6 hours or something to get there, and it's constantly booked out because they've just really done an amazing job with everything from photography to creating like just this, they're telling a story really, and it's really a memorable experience that people are going to get there.
What's the name of that kid? Do you remember?
It's Captain's Rest.
Okay, Captain's Rest in Tasmania. I have to have a look after this.
They've got animals. There's ducks that come in that you can feed. It's just like, it's this really cute, picturesque property, and that's what I mean. So if you're willing to put the time and effort in to make it a really, special place, I mean, people will go. You see it even with, tiny homes or those, glamping tents and things like that. If you're putting the work in as well from a marketing perspective and letting people know where you are and captivating that, that audience, I mean, anywhere could do well.
Yeah.
But if you want something that you just know straight up it's going to do well, you'd be looking at places that are close to major cities
and stuff.
Yeah.
When I jump onto AirDNA and stuff, what you said that all those things will come up, but in terms of like vacancy rates and that kind of stuff, it's going to be different to resi property in your normal buy and hold and rental market. But is there any general rules of thumb or anything you need to be looking for on these platforms? Like, is a vacancy rate 40% bad or 80%? Like, what sort of around vacancies? Where do we sort of peg that?
I mean, it sort of depends on what you're looking for as well. So, are you doing it full time? Are you doing it part time? I find that 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom properties, they might have a higher occupancy because you don't have to gather as many people to book. They might have a higher occupancy, but they may have a lower nightly rate. Whereas some of the bigger properties, they might have a lower occupancy, but you might be charging $1,000 or $1,500 a night on the weekends or peak seasons. So it's sort of hard to give it sort of depends on what your property is and what you're looking for. But I mean, anyone wants 100% occupancy.
Yeah.
or close to it.
But I know with like Airbnbs, there's obviously peak seasons and there's peak days of the week. So it's like, if I've got, say, a 1-bedroom unit down Wollongong way, like, should I be looking for, and I'm doing this full time, that property in full time, is it, I'm looking for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so like 50% occupancy, or would you say it's something like that?
I think definitely, in those coastal areas or in those, regional areas that are close to major cities, it is more of a weekend. People are booking generally on the weekends and school holidays and peak seasons. But in saying that, I reduce the midweek prices and I still get people in. So my experience is it varies. It varies.
Okay, well, look, we do have some case studies a little bit later, so we'll dive into them. And then day rates and minimum night stays. There's sometimes always minimum night stays. Why is that?
So minimum night stay is really important. Usually people, hosts will do 2-night minimum, but in peak seasons it might be like 5 nights or 7 nights because The reason why is obviously when guests are coming in, they're using the property and then it needs to be cleaned. So if you're just having someone come in for one night and then you've got to get the cleaner back there to clean it, you've just got to, one, logistics, and two, money. It costs money to have your cleaner come in. Obviously, cleaning is one of the services that you can tax deductibles.
Yep.
So you can claim some of that back, but I think it's more logistics. You don't want to be having to organise the cleaner every second day if you're doing one night stays.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so you really you gotta get through Air DNA. You've got to have a look at the numbers and really deciding if it's short term, long term, or if it's like you're going away on like a Bali trip. So I guess that would mean then I'm trying to think what properties work better, but would that be area dependent then?
I think area dependent, for sure. I think also what I like to talk to my clients about is who is your target guest. You talk about target audience a lot, but who's your target guest? Is it couples? Is it professional? I've had someone in Canberra recently that I worked with, and they had a 1-bedroom apartment, and there's lots of professionals in Canberra, a lot of corporate people, so they actually do really well midweek because they're getting people in midweek. So it really does depend on the area. But you can also as well, if you have sort of chosen, if you've already got a property in an area or you are choosing, the other thing you can do is actually just go on Airbnb and do a search and have a look at properties that way, because you can then see, what amenities they might have or how many you can do it that way as well.
Interesting. And would you say is it better to have like I'm thinking like those coastal regions or in and out of the city, it's going to be flooded with Airbnbs, right? But that's not necessarily a bad thing if you've got Airbnbs in and around you. Like,
I think definitely over the years, Airbnb has become a lot more popular than I think a lot of posts talk about the glory days when it first started and there was like no tax implications or anything like that. But I think, like I said, if your property stands out, if you've put the effort in to, professional photography, really nice amenities, styling and having your own niche, I honestly feel like any property can do really well. That's what happened with us in Wombara. I mean, there was definitely already heaps of Airbnbs, but as soon as we went live, we were just booking out consistently.
Wow. And
you can also be, not sneaky, but you can see what other people are charging and you can, be competitive, maybe lower your price even $10 or $20 less and, get people in that way. And then once you start building up your 5-star reviews, because let's hope you're all getting 5-star reviews, then that obviously boosts up your listing as well on Airbnb. It will be like more at the top if you've got really good reviews and you've got really good occupancy as well.
Okay.
Sort of like Airbnb will favourite your property.
So you trend a little bit higher on the searches.
Yeah.
All right, so talk to me. If I've just found a property, I've went on AirDNA, I've had a look through. Yep, I want to do Airbnb, and I think what we're talking about off air, and that we'll preface with this, is that it is a complex strategy. So it is a conversation, or it is something you want to talk to experts like Sophie about, because it's not just probably going to be suited to the first-time investors to go out and buy an Airbnb, because you've got mortgages and structuring repayments and stuff. So I would preface this episode with tailor it to and take into consideration your own financial position. But let's just say I've went out, I either own or I've just went out and bought a property in an area. I've had a look. Numbers look pretty good.
Yep.
How do I get started? How do I launch this thing onto market? What are the steps? Airbnb app and preparing the home that I need to do.
Yeah. So first of all, if you haven't bought the property yet, it's really important, if you have the intention of doing Airbnb, it's really important that you do look up the rules and regulations first. That is the first thing I would encourage everyone to do, because there are some, regulations on nightly limits throughout the year. So for example, Byron Bay has just announced that I think starting in September this year, that some areas in Byron Bay, not all, but some areas in the Byron Bay council area are only allowing 60 nights per year to be Airbnb. Yeah. So there's obviously other things involved with that, but that's something to consider. So you definitely want to have a look at your rules and regulations first. If you've already got the property, same thing, look up your rules and regulations. You can get in contact with your council. And then it's honestly as simple as...
and if it's an apartment, I think
yes,
bylaws, strata body corp too, because there's a lot of... I know that, and I've seen that a lot, ladies, that like every new place is now putting on bylaws that you can't, no short-term rental accommodation. So kind of works in older styles right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely another thing, if it is, a unit. From there, you can literally just go on Airbnb and you can register in New South Wales. It's different for different states and territories.
Yep.
But in New South Wales, because I'm from New South Wales, I'll talk to that. What you do from there is you actually register your property through the New South Wales government website. So so you get a property ID number. So it only takes I think 48 hours for it to come through, and you need to register. I think it costs $60, and you need to register before you can even start creating your listing and actually starting to get.
So is that through the Airbnb website, or that's the Australian government? Like that's government website?
Yeah, it's government website, but you can do it through Airbnb. Okay. It will redirect you to the government website.
Perfect. Never knew that. All right.
Yeah. So it's quite a streamlined process.
Does it take long?
No.
Okay.
So no. It's just literally filling out some details, and then it takes I think 48 hours for it to come through.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've signed up. I've got that. I've got that registered or signed up. What's next?
What's next is you contact Hosting with Sophie. No.
Quality.
What you do next is you obviously go through the steps to create your listing, and then even before that, you want to prepare your property for guests. So like I spoke about at the start about my partner and I with our Wombara beach cottage, we, got all of our amenities together. We got all our furniture together. There's safety features that you need to also incorporate. So there's you need to have legally in New South Wales a fire extinguisher, a fire blanket. You need to have a first aid kit, and then you also need to have emergency exit floor plans on the back of each bedroom door.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So you can get a fine if someone were to come and inspect, and those aren't.
So every bedroom door has to have the fire blanket and hydrant.
No. Sorry.
Oh, the
that's
exit
just
plans
the
on the
exit plans.
Yep.
And then just in the home, the fire blanket, the extinguisher, and the first aid kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about furniture? Is it better to have it fully furnished, or leave some things? Like what's the thoughts around that?
Definitely fully furnished, but remove any of your personal items. Like you want it to be styled and you want it to feel homey, but you also don't want to come into come into an Airbnb and like there's, family photos and, and, toys and teddies that, personal items. So, toothbrushes and things like that. You really want to have it styled, fully furnished, but no personal belongings.
Okay, so fully decluttered.
Decluttered.
Okay, what's next? I've decluttered my house.
Yeah, so from there, so that's preparing your property. Then you can, really get into creating the listing. So you've got to write all of your listing descriptions, house rules. You need to determine, all of your calendar dates. That's, do you want to be open full time, or do you want to have some closed dates? The pricing, you need to go in and adjust all of the pricing, and then you need to upload all of the photos. So there's quite a lot involved with creating the actual listing, and I think the more information you put in there without bombarding people, the less questions you're going to get as well from guests. So there's a happy medium of how much information you want to put in there. And again, it's like painting that picture and telling a story. I think for the Heads House, for example, one of the properties that I manage, I do like a day in the life of what it's like to stay at the Heads House, and I, put in some of the local restaurants or the beach, and just so that people are like, oh, wow, not only can they see the photos, this is also what I'm going to expect when I stay there. So there's some things you can do in that aspect.
Good little idea. Okay, perfect. And then it's about listing it. And what happens with if I am a if I'm a property owner and I want to list it up, property management, ongoing, and the bookings and stuff. What happens with outsourced? Do I do it myself? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so it's really just up to your personal preference. So you can either manage it yourself, and the way I set things up for my clients is that it's really streamlined and everything's automated so that there's limited, as much as you want to be a super host and five-star host, you also want to limit communication because it's annoying for the guest to have to ask you a question. But it's also annoying for you to have to answer a question. So I think definitely it depends on your capacity that you have. So you can either manage it yourself and have things set up so it's really automated, so it feels really streamlined. I know that I've worked with some clients in the past and they didn't even know that you could set up scheduled messages in Airbnb, and I was like, have you been responding to everyone manually? Like, I couldn't believe it.
Typing it out,
yeah,
not even.
I actually couldn't believe it. So anyone that wants to do it, there is scheduled messaging functions, automated. So just know that. Or you can obviously hire a property manager, or Airbnb call it a co-host. And that's also something that I do. So yeah, you can either do it yourself or you can hire a co-host to actually do it for you. With that, you obviously can negotiate with the co-host or property manager on how much they do and how much you do. It may be that they do 100%, they do absolutely everything, or it could be that, they just do some of the messaging, but they don't actually have anything to do with the logistics of organising the cleaner. So depending on what you want them to do, you can negotiate that.
Okay, and what is if Airbnb host is running my property for me? How much of the rent? What's the percentage of rent would they typically charge? Because there's more involved compared to resi. You set and forget. You do an inspection after 3 months or 6 months, and any maintenance that pops up. But I feel Airbnb, there's obviously a bigger turnover, more work required, onboarding, offboarding, cleaning, that kind of stuff. So what are the sort of fees that people can start to expect?
Yes. So if you do want to hire a property manager or co-host, it's generally 15 to 20% per nightly rate. So, per night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of that booking.
Yeah, of that booking.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're paid per booking, not on like a.
Yeah. So So a lot of the time, I mean, some people may also charge like a monthly fee, but I just do it based on percentage, and it's then also a really good motivator to get people in. So
Optimize that listing.
Yeah. So marketing on Instagram and things like that. So if you can do it yourself, there's definitely ways to streamline, and that's what I help my clients do, because I'm like, how can to let them save that money. But then there's some people that obviously just really do not have the time, and usually they've got the money, so they're like, I'll just get someone to do it for me. So it's personal preference.
And if I suppose if you're away on holidays too, if you're doing like a month or 3 months, you go overseas, you don't want to be contacted. You just want that Airbnb host to do it all, right? It's almost like, because if you're getting a booking, they're getting a percentage of it, but it also means you're getting a booking. So it's like you'd rather just set and forget. Let's dive into a couple of your case studies, because I'm really interested to see and hear about numbers and stuff. So what do you have for me? What do you have for me first?
So a property that I manage in Shoalhaven Head. So for example, in the last financial year, that property made $72,538 to be precise.
Yep.
So that actually wasn't even a full 12 months. It was a 9 months because the pool was actually getting installed for 3 of those months.
Okay, so that's 72 grand for 9 months. So it's almost as if that's tracking 8 to 9 grand a month. Wow. Okay. And what we talking night stays and like the vacancies and stuff like that? Is that a lot of bookings?
So that is generally people, it's really hard. Like generally people book 2 nights over the weekend, but then over the peak school holidays and summer holidays, it's more around the 5 to 7 night average.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well,
But
8.
during off peak, it's 2 to 3 nights.
2 to
Yeah.
3 nights.
Yeah.
Okay. Out of that 72,500 of that particular property, what are your cleaning and maintenance and all that kind of shit?
Yeah. So the expenses for the last financial year was 4,986.
That's it.
Yeah.
72,000. Okay, so it's like 6%.
And in saying that though, with Airbnb and any of the other rental platforms, you can also charge a cleaning fee because cleaning is actually quite pricey. So cleaners are generally charging $50 an hour.
God, I'm in the wrong game.
I know.
Yeah.
So they're generally charging $50 an hour. So what you sort of need to do is, okay, how long is it going to take to clean this property? And then you actually can add that on as a guest. The guests are actually paying for that expense. But it's all separated in Airbnb so that you can see in the reports how much that's actually costing.
Okay. But what is I was actually meaning to ask, of that booking fee that you get, how much does Airbnb make? Do you know? Does it vary?
So Airbnb, originally they were charging the guest the Airbnb booking fee. So you will see booking fee there.
Yep.
It's 3%. And then it's 15% for the host actually pays, like the owner. Yeah.
Okay. And that's still a thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's how they get you. Okay, perfect. All right. And so a lot of that $4,000 then out of the maintenance and cleaning, a lot of that's covered already. A lot of that's excluding the actual cleaning fee because that's covered by the people that are coming in, right?
Yeah.
Was there any maintenance, any issues with a house like that?
I think obviously it depends on the age of the house. This house is fairly new. There was some issues with the fireplace, so there's some maintenance costs there. Also, we get the pool cleaned every 2 weeks, so there's costs there. And then amenities is a big one. So restocking, toilet paper, paper towel, milk, sugar, tea, coffee.
What's the cheapest way to do that? What's the hack?
Yeah, so the hack for amenities, I mean, I just have shopping lists saved in Coles. You could buy it bulk, but I just wait for things to go on sale and I buy it when it's on sale because it does depend on how much storage you have as well. So a lot of people might just be putting these things in their linen cupboard, so they might not be able to do a a huge
order of milk sitting there for like 12 months.
Obviously there's other ways. I know people, might buy a bulk on Amazon or whatever it may be, but I just wait for the sales and I just have a shopping list with all of our saved stuff and you can just get it delivered so you don't even have to do the shopping yourself.
So that's averaging. The house is averaging about $1,000 a week in booking fees, and then you're probably taking 20 to 25% off that or more. You're probably taking about 30% off that for all your other expenses, right? To factor into it. So management fees, Airbnb, and other costs. What else? What else you got for me? Tell me.
I just probably should have said as well, that's a 3-bedroom house that sleeps 8 people.
What? Yeah. Has it got bunk beds? Double beds?
Okay. There's one bunk bed and a trundle that comes out. So obviously, like I said before, if you've got a bigger house that sleeps more people, you can obviously charge more as well. So you can charge... Airbnb has the option to either charge per guest or they have the option to just charge per booking the house. Yeah.
Does Airbnb set that or the person?
No, you can. You can really set everything. You have so much flexibility.
Okay, so if I was to book that with 2 people and rock up with 8, how does Airbnb know?
Honestly,
just be a little bit cheeky here. Don't get any ideas for anyone listening.
Well, people do that, and sometimes a host might have like the door ring cameras and they can see how many people are walking in or which they disclose anyway. I think people know now that hosts end up finding out, or maybe they don't and maybe you get away with it, but I think majority of people, most of the clients that I have worked with, it's just you pay for the property, you're not paying per guest, because I mean that's the thing, you might have if it's 2 people, you're still paying the same as 8 people.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's easier to split 8 ways. But all right, tell me a couple more. What else you got for us that has some more ideas? Yeah. What about Bronte?
Yeah, so I've got another client that reached out to me at the end of last year, and they are in Bronte. They've got a 1-bedroom apartment in Bronte, so in Sydney, and they made 23,000 in 3.5 months of going live. Now, I don't know what the expenses have been, but I'm assuming it's not that much because it is only a 1-bedroom apartment. But yeah, that was when I got that. When they let me know that they got that, I was like, wow.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hang on. 23,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say it's let's say 13 weeks. $1,700 a week. Now, we looked before we started this, and the average 2-bedder in Bronte, it varies, but from like $650 to sort of $850. So even if I take that 30% off there, wow, I'm still clearing $1,100. Okay.
Yeah.
There's definitely money to be made in that, right? Shit.
And obviously that was over January, Feb, March. So January is obviously peak season, but still that's amazing. Yeah.
Would you say peak season's November to Jan?
I would say, as soon as summer hits. So I think December, Jan is your peak because obviously that's when school holidays are on. But it definitely, from spring, September in Australia, it definitely starts getting busier, I find, from September.
Okay, good to know.
But then it also it drops off a little bit in March, but then it picks right back up in April when it's Easter.
Oh, Easter holidays.
Easter holidays, yeah.
Okay, because I can start to see this cycle now.
And then it drops down a little bit for like winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have a house or apartment that you want to put on Airbnb, the best time to do it is in that holiday season.
Yes.
If you go away and then, okay. But then you're back here for winter, which is not the best, right?
It's hard though as well. I mean, I'm obviously talking from a coastal because a lot of my clients are coastal. But obviously, if you're looking at Jindabyne, obviously then winter's going to be your peak season because people are going to the snow. So sorry, I am talking quite coastal, but it really depends on where your property is again, on when it's going to do its best. And sometimes those quaint country towns and regional areas, they actually do really well in winter if they've got, a hot tub or a fireplace and they're really selling that winter cozy escape.
Yeah, true.
So I try to tell my clients, what can you do that you can have, that you can be appealing for all seasons. So it still will probably die down a little bit over winter for the coastal places, but what can you do? Do you have a fireplace? Can you do some more Instagram marketing of, having a red wine next to the fireplace, or do you have a hot tub? So things like that. But then you might also have the pool, which is a real summer appeal.
Okay. Yeah. That's why you put the fireplace in your place then, a fire pit, right?
Yes.
Draw a couple more people in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so even thinking about it, I didn't take into account now that 23,000. We'll say, what do you think are typical for a 1-bedder? The maintenance and that cost is over 3 months.
I don't think maintenance. I mean, it's sort
minimal, $1,000.
Oh yeah. Minimal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 22,000. I take off. I'm going to take off 30% of that, which is 6,600. Let me just do some quick maths. So we're down to 15,400. If I divide that by your 13 weeks, wow, yeah, you're still clearing $1,000 a week. So it's almost double. It's almost double that market rate there. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're convincing me. You're convincing me, Soph. What else you got for me?
Another example is a client that I had recently as well, actually end of last year. So they were going on holidays and they wanted to Airbnb their property whilst they were on holidays. So again, if that is an option you wanted to do, you've got to have a spot where you're going to put all your personal belongings and maybe you lock it up. It could be a bedroom, it could be a garage, it could be a linen cupboard, whatever your property has that you can do that for.
Yep.
And then they actually let me know that they made So they only had it open for 2 weeks. So obviously they blocked out the rest of the calendar. They just had it open over the 2 weeks over Christmas, and they made $15K.
15,000.
Yeah. So
what?
And they headed off to I think it was Bali. So they just they headed off to Bali.
So they put like it's like a $1,000 nightly rate on that. Where was that? Where was that property located?
It's in Woonona. So so
beach views
South
or anything?
Coast. No beach views. So actually a bit back towards more the escarpment.
Yeah.
But it was a big property. So it's 5-bedroom.
Yeah.
And it had a pool. So it had quite a lot of appeal. So
was it like a new home? Like
newly renovated.
Newly renovated, looks really good. Oh my God, 15 grand. You'd be hard pressed to spend that in.
And now that they've had everything set up, whenever they want to go on holidays, they can do it again. So they reached out to me. I helped them set it all up. They've got a key lockbox system. They've got all the automated messages. So as soon as they open that calendar back up, they can, just be good to go.
So you can set it. Yeah, that's another thing, right?
And they managed it from Bali as well. They didn't have a property manager or a co-host or anything. It was just all set up so that, with Airbnb messages, if someone sends you a message, it's just like getting a text. So as long as you're, you know that you've got guests there and you have your phone on you, and these days when you travel overseas, you can still get a message. You're still on Wi-Fi and you're still connected. So I think definitely, you can actually manage it even when you're not there.
Wow. Okay. And you can actually help your clients. You help your clients with the setup and automation if they want to run it themselves.
Yeah.
And then you help with the co-hosting if they want to be involved or they want you involved.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. I think that's a really good thing to consider. I mean, as an investing strategy, but also like for anyone out there that's finished anything relatively new to go through the steps that we've talked about today to see if there's demand, what you can get, and then like just about setting your property up really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds it sounds like it's a really good deal as long as you can lock your personal stuff away. So tell me, the way we sort of finish these episodes up, I always ask the guests for a golden nugget, so a piece of information that they can share with our audience, a bit of an exclusive. I know you haven't done a podcast before, but what's something you can sort of share that people learning about Airbnbs today can take with them?
So it may be an unpopular opinion, but my golden nugget would be don't allow pets at your Airbnb property.
Really?
So a lot of people think, having dogs is amazing and, you're going to bring all these extra people in, all these extra guests because, it's opening up that market for people that have dogs.
Yeah.
But it is a double-edged sword because then there's also a lot of people that don't like dogs. And dogs shed hair. So, if you have dogs in at the property, 1, they might scratch the floors. 2, they might break something. 3, there might be dog hair left. And even if you have the cleaner go through, there may still be some dog hair or the smell of dog left in the property, which could then, cause a complaint for the next person. So I always tell everyone, don't allow dogs, but it may be an unpopular opinion for some people.
As a dog dad, I'm very upset by that golden nugget. But look, you're the expert, so we trust in your opinion. And tell me, Sophie Turner, what is a quote you live your life by?
Do something today that your future self will be thankful for.
Oof. I like that one. Look, Sophie Turner from Hosting with Sophie. Appreciate you coming on Everything Property Podcast and educating us on how we can bring up an Airbnb to market and be making that $5,000 per month. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problems at all.